What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and I have a question. Do you have a static doubles partner? Or when you enter a tournament, do you also participate in doubles? Or are you just interested in the format? Do you maybe want to get into it soon? If the answer to any of those questions is yes, then stay tuned because today we're going to be talking all about doubles. I'm a pretty experienced doubles player, as you will see in the video, and today I want to bestow some of that knowledge onto you. So sit back, like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into today's doubles guide.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
Trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
In case you guys didn't know, I actually have been playing Smash since 2009, and back in the Brawl days, doubles was a very important event in Europe, in my opinion at least. So a lot of people actually practice for doubles. Yeah, in Smash 4, I played doubles with Space, and we were arguably the best doubles team in Europe. At the biggest doubles tournament in Europe, Syndicates, we got second place to Mr. R and Ken, the best player in Europe and the best player in Japan. So there we are, Space Ramses, number 2. Literally losing to Ken and Mr. R twice. I want to impart some of that knowledge to you, because in the Netherlands especially, doubles has been kind of making a little bit of a comeback. People are enjoying some doubles on Wi-Fi during lockdown, and I see a lot of things that I think are very easy to fix. So how to play doubles? Well, the first point when you play doubles is to understand roles. So roles is the starting point for doubles. So usually there are two roles. There's the initiator and the support. So the initiator is all about, the goal of the initiator is to create space, and the goal of the support is to control the pace. Okay? So creating space is mostly about basically pressuring the opponent, right? So if we look at, for example, Final Destination, right? And we have like 4 players on here. The initiator is the one who's going to control this space in the middle. So oftentimes you want to be good at holding forward. So a character like, I don't know, like Ivysaur is not good at aggressing because Ivysaur controls space from a distance. So Ivysaur is like, I'll just control this space and I'll wall you out from there. Whereas a character like, for example, Roy can literally like run up and start like getting into your opponent's face, forcing retreats, and from there, your opponent's going to have less space, and you're going to basically play with like 2/3 of the stage control. So that is what the initiator does. The initiator creates space, oftentimes through aggression. Okay? The second role, the support, is mostly about controlling the pace. So when your partner is getting into your opponent's face, they're like rushing them down, the support is there to make sure nothing goes wrong. So say that your opponent, or that your initiator, gets hit out of their aggression, the support is there to punish that hit. So say my Roy jumps in, they get punished, they get thrown out. So my Roy flies in, gets thrown out, and my opponent now had to do something like a forward tilt to kind of hit him out. Now the support dashes in and tries to punish or at least pressure the opponent for doing that. And while your partner kind of recovers back, the support now kind of holds the fort, and from there make sure that the pace of the match is not lost. Because, and we'll talk about this later, if you're both in like a juggle or both off stage, probably the worst situation you could be in. So the support is all about basically preventing the initiator, preventing the initiator's loss from turning the game around. And they're also there to capitalize off of the initiator's hits. So if the initiator gets like a back throw, the support needs to be there to basically just get a full damage, like a full conversion out of it. So oftentimes a support character has a lot of mobility and a lot of power. But we'll talk more about the statistics later. So kind of the idea between the roles is that you control space and time, right? Control space and time. Another thing that you can have, so kind of like let's put this here. So kind of like a kind of an aside is that there's special compositions. So not all compositions follow the initiator support paradigm. So for example, a composition like Lucario and Lucas in Smash 4, right? It's not an initiator support paradigm, but because their unique combination works so well, it still is a functional team, right? There are more teams like this, but they're far and few in between. There are also some other ways that you can build your team. So something that you can do is, for example, you can do double initiator, because a lot of initiators also function as supports. However, double initiator is oftentimes lacks some power. So a lot of the power from a team composition comes from the support, because the initiator is often something like a Roy who cannot, like, you cannot really complete your combos in teams, so it's harder to get like the big hits as Roy. It can be something like Sheik, it can be something like Pikachu, right? So it's often like a more nimble character, a little bit more of a safer character, a little bit more of a, basically an aggressive character to kind of like open up the game, like we mentioned before. Double initiator can work with certain combinations though, because some characters are just good enough to do both. And then there's also the something that I really like, which is advantage state compositions. So this is more about like getting the most out of a hit rather than controlling the neutral. So initiator support combination is all about having a balanced team, whereas an advantage state composition is all about getting a single hit and then getting a lot out of it. So this is something like, for example, in Smash 4 you had like Robin Cloud, which is very much like this. So Cloud kind of like functions as the initiator when he has limit, whereas Robin kind of walls the opponent out in a neutral. So you kind of get like two support characters in a way. But then once limit is online, Cloud can be initiator, and then from there, when they get a hit, they get such high reward because of how strong their advantage state was together, that it worked out. So they compensate for a flaw, which is that they're not as well rounded as other compositions, with a strength which is the strong advantage state. So like that, there's a lot of like special compositions that you can use, but generally I would say if you're starting off with doubles, learn the initiator support structure. It will help you a lot also with changing partners, and generally understanding the dynamics of teams. So that's the first thing. So let's talk about character choices then. So there's a few things that are very important in doubles. So let's talk about the important things in doubles. So one is kill power for the support character, or well, let's actually categorize it for the initiator and for the support character. So for both of these, something that's very important is recovery. So recovery is very important because like losing a stock early in doubles is huge, because it allows the other team to not initiate if they don't want to, especially with certain with a lot of like meta compositions. Like for example, like Rob is very good in teams. Rob is a lot better if the opponent has to come at him, even if he has an initiator to kind of like open it up normally. You just become a lot stronger. Something like Palutena functions as an initiator, but if Palutena has the lead, they can actually like transition into more of a walling role, right? Yeah, Light Mars is double initiator all the way. Like Zero Suit is not a good doubles character. We'll talk about that. Another thing about recovery is that being able to recover fast is very beneficial. So for example, say that like you're in a standard double scenario and you're recovering. While you are recovering, and if this takes like 20 seconds, or like 20 is unrealistic. Let's just say like 7 seconds. This is a 7 now. Yep, it's a 7. So if it takes like 7 seconds to recover, during those 7 seconds, your partner is 1v2ing. So having a good recovery helps a lot. So tether recoveries are amazing in doubles because you skip a lot of the recovery time. Something like Zero Suit is really good because you drift to the stage, down B back on the stage, you're back in action. Something like Shulk is really good because you go into the jump on auto, you're back instantly. Something like Palutena is really good because you have like the warp, which also negates a lot of the time spent off stage. Something like DDD is a lot worse because he has to jump, off B to the stage, right? So think about the speed of your recovery. It's a very important aspect of being a good doubles character. Now for the initiator, something that you want out of your character for one is pressure. So this is things like, think about Sheik is probably the biggest pressure character in Smash 4. Still really good pressure character in this game. Palutena could do this pre-patch. I don't know if Palutena would still count as a pressure character. But like Roy and Chrom are really good at this. Because like if you want to beat Roy and Chrom's approach, you often have to dash back. But if your opponent's standing behind you, you cannot dash back, right? So the pressure becomes even stronger. Another good pressure character could be something like Squirtle. Squirtle can be really good at pressuring. Pikachu and Pichu. Right, so a lot of these type of characters. Mifra is like an amazing pressure character. Even Shulk and like Speed, right? So that's like what you want out of your pressure character. A lot of pressure to our initiator character. It's a lot of pressure to put on the opponent. Mario Kind of, but Mario is a little bit on the slower side, right? So Mario, not always the best choice. Another thing you want out of your initiator is good throws / a good grab. So this is underrated as hell, but this is also like part of the reason why Zero Suit is not the greatest initiator, because a lot of people can kind of just sit and shield, and you don't want to risk the grab as Zero Suit. It's also like relatively slow, in the sense that in doubles, a lot of players will focus around like vertical play because they cannot do like horizontal play. So where Zero Suit grab is often good at like catching like backdashes, for example, stuff like that. It doesn't really do that in doubles because it's a way more vertical game, right? So good throws or a good grab can be a huge part of being a good initiator. And then the kind of like final thing that you want as an initiator is a ping pong. So if you're not good at like killing as an initiator, you can at least be really good at ping ponging, right? So ping ponging is basically being able to hit the opponent back to your partner. So say that you're Sheik, you get a back throw, your opponent forward airs them back to you, and now Sheik back airs them back to the support. So that is like a ping pong, and being able to ping pong effectively as an initiator is very important. Inkling is very good at this. So that's basically the TLDR of what you want to have as an initiator, is good pressure, good throws, and good ping pong abilities. A support has very different skills. So what a support wants most is good burst range. So good burst range is basically what we talked about before, where if your initiator is in a sticky situation, your support can use their burst range to get in there immediately and basically break up the situation. So some examples of good burst range are, of course, like Mifra dash attack, but they can also be projectiles. So Ivysaur Razor Leaf, right? But also something like Rob Laser, right? All of these projectiles are really good at breaking up a situation like this. So good burst range, very important for support. Another thing that supports want is amazing kill power. So having good kill power is basically like one of the most important things in doubles. I think if you look at like effective team compositions, you can create a good team out of nothing if there is a very consistent way to kill. So for example, like back throw up air, right? Or like back throw up smash, down throw forward smash, stuff like that, right? So good kill power, very important for a support character. Let's see, what else? Did I miss anything? Yeah, so for initiator, one thing that I will kind of put in here is speed. So a character like Peach kind of like fulfills a lot of the role, but then she doesn't really have the speed to create space, right? But then like it's also a little bit dependent, because like the thing about Peach is that she also kind of lacks the mid range to transition from like a neutral state into pressure. She often kind of like weasels her way in, which is different. Something else that you want out of your support especially is weight, or weight is probably the best way to put it. So having good weight as your support is big. So what you see a lot in especially like mid to high level doubles is that you get a competition like, I don't know, Roy and Rob, and then Roy is the initiator and Rob is the support. So what happens is Rob lives till 160 because no one can combo Rob, because as soon as you start to combo Rob, Roy comes in to intercept, right? So now Rob is at 180, protected by the Roy, and Roy does back throw, Rob up smashes, and the opponent dies at 60 because he has full rage. So weight can be very important because it allows the support to live for a long time, basically stock tank while the initiator defends them. And while the initiator kind of per definition has to aggress, the support doesn't, so the weight is more important for the support because you're more often going to get caught by stray hits rather than the initiator, who's a little bit more open to things and more prone to die in the first place. So I'd say this is like a good outline to start with. So let's talk about the next part, which is communication. And I will tell you about the biggest tilter in the world. Pifra can play both roles. I think Sho can play both roles. I think Pokemon Trainer can play both roles. I think technically Roy can play both. There's some more, but yeah, Pifra can because she can swap, right? So communication. Main thing I want you guys to think about is the like occupying the airspace and the mental load of processing language. So I think I think Steve would be like perfect for like a special composition. So if you have something that works with Steve, he probably does really well, but you would have to have a partner who is used to playing with Steve. So I think Shulk is also like part of the special composition, because Shulk, like, you need a partner that can both initiate and wall. So something like Palutena, I don't know about post-patch, but something like even Sheik, right? So Sheik can either rush down with your aerials or play more patient with needles. And Shulk needs that because he needs to get his cooldowns back, right? So in that regard, I think a character like Steve as well was like a very important unique mechanic. Often fits into more of a special composition. Peach is not a support because she doesn't have the kill power or the weight or the burst range to play a support role well. Peach is actually pretty bad in doubles, in my opinion. I think she's okay, but she's not good. So communication, occupying the airspace and the mental load of processing language. So the most important thing is this. Basically, you don't want to talk if you don't have to. Saying sorry, or let's rewind. Yeah. Thank you. Saying sorry is the worst thing you can do. If you hit your partner and you say sorry, don't. Like, they know you're sorry. They know you didn't mean to hit them. You don't need to say sorry. It's okay. Like, honest, you're not there to make friends. You're there to win the game. So saying sorry is like, because not like, you don't want to talk if you don't have to, because you're making them process language. And then the other thing is you're occupying the airspace, right? So it's both of these things, right? So you're occupying the airspace with sorry. Sorry is not great communication. If you're playing friendlies, of course, like, say sorry if you want. But like in tournament, please don't apologize to your partner. They know you messed up, right? I usually say, haha, get fucked, Sonar. Makes me feel some type of way. That's way better. If there's something you want to communicate, then that is more important. So that is kind of like the next part of communication. That's about communicating in boundaries. So communicating in boundaries, this is what you want to do. So, for example, when you grab, say, incoming, and then they know, okay, he's going to throw them to me. Whereas sometimes you want to throw them away. Like, there is variation in where it's going. Or maybe you have setups depending on the direction. So you say up, and then you wait a second, and then you throw them up. Right? So, like, that is communication within boundary, a lot easier to process as well. Another way that you can communicate in the boundary is to say, I'll take this, right? So you get a hit, and then this, I'll take this. So that basically says, hey, don't follow up on this hit. I'm going to finish the combo. So stuff like this, where it's like very effective info about what you are expecting out of your teammates, that is what you generally want to do for communication. More than that is actually super detrimental, more than is commonly believed. So, yeah. Some stuff that you might want to do is stuff like, he doesn't have a double jump, right? So say that you send your opponent their way, and you're like, he doesn't have a double jump. That could be like super useful information. So, yeah, keep the effectiveness of your communication up. So let's talk about situations. So this is all like preliminary stuff. So this is basically like, you can figure out the roles, you can figure out the character choices, you can figure out the communication. All that stuff is fine. That's all preemptive. But during the game, there's actually some stuff that you need to figure out. That is like, it differs a bit depending on the matchup. How would you communicate in doubles when you're in a loud venue? I've never heard a venue that is so loud that you cannot talk to someone standing next to you or sitting next to you. So I actually wouldn't know. So there's generally there's 3 neutral situations in doubles. So there's the 2v2, which is how the game starts. There's the 1v1 and 1v1. And then there's the squeeze, which is the 2v1, right? So that is why you're both on the side, both like kind of like flanking the same opponent. So you need to talk about how you handle these situations. So in a 2v2, oftentimes the initiator needs to know that they are the ones to initiate. So something that is very important, for example, is if you're standing next to each other and you want to advance, but the support is in front and the initiator is in the back, you need to have the communication to be like, hey, if I'm in the front, I'm going to roll behind you. And then the initiator can take over and go to the front, right? So like understanding how you want to play the 2v2, very, very important, right? So 2v2, most common situation at like high levels of play. The most common situation at lower levels of play is the 1v1 and the 1v1. And this is a little bit harder to do. So one of the most important things is before a game, talk about the matchups. So for example, your Mario plus Bayo versus I don't know, like Corin plus I don't know, Brawler. So Mario wants to fight Brawler, not Corin, right? So Mario and Bayo need to try to make that 1v1 happen, where Mario fights Brawler. So say that you get in a situation where it's 1v1 Mario Bayo, or 1v1 Mario Mario Corin, and 1v1 Bayo and Brawler. You need to actually go for a swap of opponents. So for example, Bayo gets the hit on the Brawler, and then Mario jumps in to try to get the 2v1, and then afterwards Bayo kind of covers the Mario as he gets chased out by the Corin. Right, so getting those 1v1 switches is actually very important to playing the matchup well. I'm sorry if that was confusing. It's a lot of characters to kind of like balance. But basically, figure out who you want to fight and try to actively find those 1v1s. So if one of you get a hit, if you're in a bad matchup, focus on not engaging and just walling, right? And then if your partner gets a hit, rush over and help them, right? So that's basically what you want to do, because in both scenarios, you're out of the bad matchup and you're contributing to the goal of your doubles team, which is getting the right 1v1s. So talk about matchups and figure out which matchups you want to play and try to actively switch between them as well. Another thing that is very important about the 1v1 is figure out when it's worth it to 1v1 or to help your partner. So again, if like a Bayo is comboing your partner, you better rush over and help them. However, if you yourself are the Mario player and you're comboing the opponent and this could lead to death, you might want to say, hey, partner, figure it out, because I could get a kill out of this. So sometimes continuing the 1v1 is worth more than helping. And sometimes it's vice versa. So figure it out. When is it worth it to 1v1, and when is it worth it to help your partner? It's one of the hardest judgments to make. But I generally recommend, if you don't know for sure, or if you're like if your advantage state isn't the greatest, stuff like that, just help your partner. The 2v1 is always worth almost always worth more. So yo, Sweet Doys, thank you for the follow, and Mr. Fletcher, thank you for the follow as well. Appreciate that. Surla, thank you for the follow too. Appreciate that as well. So that's like 1v1. That's like playing the 1v1s well. I would say playing the walling game in the 1v1, very important in bad matchups, and that's actually how me and Space won most of our sets. Is to find a good matchup and let the other player, even if the other matchup is bad, let the other player just wall, play patiently, play to not get hit, and then the 1v1 is going to eventually lead into a win, and then you're walling out the partner so they cannot help, and then they're going to try to force their way to the partner to help because they're losing the 1v1, and then your walling is even more effective. Very, very important. Final thing is the squeeze. So the squeeze is actually one of the hardest things to play. So what I recommend here is generally have one aggressor and one waller. So, for example, you basically say, hey, you're coming this way. This is the initiator. This is the support. So the support is gonna be walling, and the initiator is gonna be initiating, and then that basically says that, hey, the opponent in the middle is not gonna get past the waller, and that is gonna allow the initiator to basically force the opponent to deal with them because they cannot retreat into the waller. Very, very important way to play the squeeze, because if you both initiate, you're shit out of luck. So it's very important to have communication about how you play squeeze as well. One thing to keep in mind is that you can force squeezes, It is like the ledge, exactly. The water kind of functions like the ledge. You get 4 squeezes with rules. So sometimes you can like say that you get like a 1v2 situation, right? So we get 2 versus 1, and the other partner is kind of like recovering still. You can actually like dash up and roll behind them and force a squeeze from there. It's not the best thing to do, but it can be a good thing if you have good coordination. This was a lot better in previous Smash games when rules were a little bit better as well. But it's definitely something to keep in mind still. So let's talk about another type of situation, which is advantage state situations. So there are generally 2 situations that you need to figure out. So one is double ledge traps, and the other one is double juggles. So basically, if you're juggling both of them, or if you're ledge trapping both of them. So in a double ledge trap, you have a front ledge trapper and a far ledge trapper. So the far ledge trapper only, like if this is a ledge, far ledge trapper basically is standing here to cover hard cover rolls. So if they roll, you want to like smash them for it, and to cover jumps over. So they basically wall out the center of the stage, and then the front ledge trapper is here to cover like normal get up or get up attack, or maybe even jump preemptively. But generally, you want to leave that to the far ledge trapper, right? And then if they do a drop jump aerial, it's up to the far ledge trapper again to punish that. So keep in mind, you actually want to be clear about this, because a lot of front ledge trappers try to punish a cross up. You want the back ledge trapper to punish the cross up, always. So this is a very strong ledge trapping setup. It works all the time. About double juggling, there's actually a setup for this as well, and that is the high juggler and the ground juggler. So what you generally want to do is you want to have one of your players go into the air and chase them, and then the other one stay on the ground. And then if they air dodge past that one, the one on the ground can keep them up. And if they contest that one, the one in the air, the one on the ground can punish it, etc., etc. So the one in the top forces an interaction, and then the one at the bottom punishes if they fail. Usually, again, the support is usually the ground juggler, because they have more kill power, and the support is usually the far ledge trapper as well, because they have more kill power. Yeah, these are pretty simple, but I do recommend like playing them very actively. Double juggles can also be like a 2v1, and double ledge trap can also be a 2v1. But just keep in mind, you want to have these things figured out before you get into the game. So that's all the hard stuff. Let's talk about a few of the more random topics that you need to know before you get good at playing doubles. So first off, how to convert off of hits. So wouldn't it be better to let the front ledge trapper cover jumps as neutral get up? The back ledge could also always punish get up attack and serve as a backup for ledge jump. So the thing is that you cannot like often reliably beat a jump, a normal get up, and a drop jump aerial. So you often want to shield as a front ledge trapper, so that you beat out like the drop jump aerial, or you don't get hit by the drop jump aerial. You beat the normal get up, and you let the jump for the back ledge trapper. And then if your support is good, they usually are good at like doing the ledge trap thing as well. So a good support like Ivysaur, like up air is amazing. Good support like Pyra, up air is amazing. Good support like Choke has a forward air to just wall you out, right? So most supports are already like naturally pretty good at doing far ledge trapping stuff. And the scariest thing in this configuration, it's not even the get up attack, it's the drop jump aerial, because you get in between two players, and when you're in between two players, you're testing their synergy. And when you're testing their synergy, it gets scary. So the front ledge trapper, actually, when they get crossed up, they should hold on to their shield so that the backwards ledge trapping, like the far ledge trapper, can just forward smash and just hit the shield plus the cross up and kind of go from there. So let's talk about converting hits. So converting hits is very character dependent. But it's also like it's very knowledge dependent. So for example, if Bayo starts your combo, don't help her out. Let her do the combo, please, for the love of God. Just let her finish the combo. You could do some stuff like what I did with Space in Smash 4 is he would do up B, and then they get sent like right here, and then I would do up air. and then he would do like double jump side B and pick them up there. So there's stuff you can do like that, but you need to have that communicated beforehand, right? So that's why it's very knowledge and character dependent. If a Sheik is doing like a vertical, like a very horizontal combo, you want to let her do the combo herself. You don't need to be there. You don't need to help. You don't need to. What you're better off doing, is playing support, right? So basically saying, if the combo gets broken, you'll be there to stop it, basically to punish, right? So say that your Bayo is coming the Mario, and then the Korin is coming, and the Korin is gonna hit both of them, and then you're there to actually hit the Korin for hitting both of them, right? So you're there to punish, and then that's one side, and then the other side is if their partner comes through, you can wall them up, right? So say that we get a scenario where, for example, like Bayo is comboing the opponent right on this side of the stage, and you're standing right here. You should wall out the final participant from coming into the fray. Basically, stop them from getting there. And meanwhile, your partner can keep on comboing. This is why it's important for initiators to have some speed as well, because even if they don't have like a lot of burst range or like good burst range, they can still come in and play some sort of support. Even if it's not very rewarding, you still control the pace of the match, right? Zelda, Phantom, and a partner. So Zelda is weird because her Phantom her Phantom is sort of like an initiator, but then like your partner can get hit by Phantom as well. So I actually don't know how Zelda would function in doubles. She sounds like a specialist kind of character. So that's about converting hits. Very important is think about what good conversions for your characters are. So for example, Zero Suit can like say that Sheik is comboing this way on the opponent. Zero Suit can flip jump over and just spike them down into the blast zone. So even though in this configuration most characters they cannot do anything to help their partner, Zero Suit can because of flip jump. Right? Shulk has backslash, so Shulk often wants the opponent to be sent in a way that he can follow up by hitting the back with the backslash. Robin has smash aerials, so instead of doing the Sheik combo, Sheik often wants to throw to Robin instead because the reward is just that much greater. Right? So think about what good conversions for your characters are, and think about what good conversions for your team are. So yeah, just converting hits. It's all about don't be too eager. Basically, don't be too eager. That's the most important advice. Don't be too eager. Over helping is also a thing. So let's see. The final thing I want to talk about is playing on high percent. So we talked about your support partner playing back when they're at higher percents. The initiator can sometimes also make it to higher percents, especially if the support is doing a good job. So if the support is being very disruptive and making sure that the opponent's team can get nothing going on the initiator, oftentimes the support is going to catch more abuse than the initiator. Because the initiator just gets hit once, the support jumps in, saves them, and then the support can get caught out by the opponent's support, right? So we kind of get like a chain, and eventually the opponent teams kind of wins out. So if the support is very actively supporting the initiator, they could actually end up getting more abuse than the initiator. And in those scenarios, it's very important that you switch roles. So even if you're the support, you need to be able to play some initiation, even if that is just more of a walling playstyle. So say that your initiator is Sheik, and she's at like 160, you might want to still, as the support, as the Rob, be the initiator. But then maybe you want to play a more projectile-based neutral. So you're going to play a very patient neutral with like gyro and laser, or play more walling aerials, let yourself get supported by the needle, stuff like that. So switch roles if the high percent player basically needs to survive and normally doesn't play back. Right? So instead, always focus on surviving. We talked about this before. Surviving is such a big deal. Rage is a big deal. Your opponent's going to get greedy to enter stock, so you can play defensively as a squad and basically wait for your opponent to approach and then counter the approach and get huge reward out of it. So always focus on surviving, even if it's like on paper not the optimal thing to do given the character roles. So I think this is this is going to be a YouTube video. So this is a great starting point for your doubles team. I hope this helps you guys out. It's a lot of stuff, I know that. But I think these are the most important things that I've learned about doubles. in my career. And I mean,